is at the Ringling Bridge, where he's seeing actually a lot of waves crashing in the area. Justin.
Yeah, just a little bit. If you just caught that, a big wave just hit us. This is Sarasota Bay right now. You can see the winds have really picked up out here, and those waters getting really choppy, especially now that we're heading into high tide time. That's where we're starting to see this water not only rise, but also winds picking up right here along Ringling Bridge. Of course, under the bridge, acting like a wind tunnel, but the winds still coming in from the bay are picking up at times, and that's causing these waves to crash right along this seawall is where we're starting to see some of these waves crash up into us. So again, conditions, we're not completely in the clear just yet.
Might pick up a little intensity as it goes over the Gulf. Here is the European model. You notice, though, it tries to open it up and become more of an open wave, but as it goes across the Gulf, seeing if it can pick up enough intensity to maintain its closeness. But right now, the European trying to shift it right closer towards Tampa Bay, bringing some of those heavy rainfall amounts. Now, this thing is tracking now between Jamaica and Cuba. Not expecting it really to run over much of Cuba really as we head into tonight. It's going to catch the lower south end right over towards Pico Tequino, which is one of the tallest mountains. In fact, the tallest mountain in Cuba, which could affect it a little bit, not substantially, but what we're watching for is as it moves past. And take a look at this. These are all the spaghetti plots we've been watching, pretty still consistent with keeping it on the southern side of Cuba. It's going to be right here as it moves over Cuba and actually takes that turn is where we're going to watch for how this thing's going to play out.
Yeah, good morning, Bill. You know, we're just actually up ahead from St. Armand's going towards Lido. Now, here on Lido, this area, it's still staying fairly calm. It's steady rain. We've had a few gusts of winds, but not too bad out here right now. But just a little while ago, I was telling you about those palm fronds that were on the road. Of course, those little ones, that could affect a low-profile vehicle into the morning. But it's these ones right here, the ones like this. These are the ones that can cause a lot of damage. Let me pick it up real quick and just kind of show you what this is looking like. So this is the part that was facing the road. That would cause a lot of damage to your car. So these are some of the things you're going to want to watch out for as we go into the morning hours. Of course, I'm actually going to take this and move it back off the road real quick. So give me 1 second while I move this off the road. Don't want anybody to get hit by that. But that's one of the dangers that we have to watch out for after Hurricane Elsa has moved through. We've got several palm fronds that we've seen all across those roadways, from the small ones to even the big ones. And of course, flooding's still a concern.
This European model really tracking it and holding it right along our coast and bringing those heavy winds. Remember the other day when I was telling you about those quadrants of a hurricane or a tropical storm? If we break that down into that four corner, you can see that right-hand side. That's where we're seeing those stronger winds, which is what we're watching for as we head into especially Tuesday. It'll glide up to the north and they'll be out of here by Wednesday night. Rainfall amounts, well, they're kind of all over the board. Still several days out for this, but let's take a look just early in advance. You can see rainfall totals. Well, this latest run is actually quite impressive. In fact, the last run was showing most folks around 3 inches.
The difference between where the sandbar is at, where that elevated sand is, and where the water is. Now, the water is receding, but just because it's receding, we still actually have waves coming up just as high as they were earlier. And in fact, if you take a look at some of these waves, earlier this morning when I was out here around 10 o'clock, this water was completely just tranquil, quiet. Now we're starting to see some of these breakers and actually some of these waves trying to roll. But as we were talking to some folks earlier this afternoon, they said they came out here for a birthday. Well, quite a surprise of a birthday for sure.
We're more or less playing it by ear and I guess by sight. And when we realize that the story is going to get really hard, then we'll go back into our rooms.
And those ladies were actually celebrating one of their kinfolk's birthdays out here on the beach ahead of a storm. They were all in from Miami because it was getting a little too rainy for us out there. But you can see outside right now, we had a little band move through just a little while ago where we could actually see the sea breeze and the winds actually bouncing the waves in the water off of the actual ocean. You could see a little sea spray going off because the winds were so strong as Hurricane Elsa moving up and along the coast. In fact, you can kind of see it going on right now. You see this band right behind us. That is what we've been watching for throughout the evening, as those hotels off in the distance, once they start to diminish, that's when we're knowing that it's about to get like that right here. So you can see as this is tracking to us, this is what I'm talking about up on the ocean. You can almost see it's like a haze as the winds are just rushing through here. Now, I've only measured up to about a 28 to 30 mile per hour gust. Of course, not at 30 feet, the registered height that it's supposed to be at, but it's still been fairly windy out here. Rains have been pretty consistent at this point. We've had a few small breaks in it, but actually, you notice right now we have some folks who are out on the beach as this storm is really starting to get closer toward the height of it. And those waves out there, that is the one thing that has just continued to pick up.
Purple color, that is a storm surge watch. We are possibly going to see a storm surge with this storm, and it's saying right now the maximum that we would see would be between 2 to 4 feet. That is if it gets caught during a high tide time. So if you're in folks in the Zone A area, that would be the ones that would most likely impact.
Much of the Suncoast getting fairly lucky overnight last night as what was Hurricane Elsa slid across our coastal way, keeping the strongest winds just offshore. However, we did see some impacts here across the Suncoast, especially when it came to rainfall, flooding, and somewhat of that storm surge. You can actually see behind me the water that has risen in this community here in Holmes Beach off Avenue B. The water from Anna Marie Sound has actually risen to the point where it's out of the banks and up in some of these folks' backyards, moving up into their driveways. Luckily, not quite making it up to their house, so that's some good news. But we've seen substantial rainfall amounts across the Suncoast. We've also seen folks driving through some of these flooded roadways throughout the day today. We're going to continue to watch some of these rivers and waterways swell as the water continues to rush down towards them. Now, for folks here on Holmes Beach, some of the locals here, I talked to them about this water rise, and they said, really, this wasn't too bad.
This isn't that bad. I mean, it's just from the tides, affect it too. So I don't think it's all just from the rainfall. This is not too abnormal what we see right here.
Now, if you are out and about over the next couple of days, those rivers and waterways could continue to swell. So if you do come across a road similar to this, where you cannot see any of the lines, that means it is not safe to drive. It's time to turn around. Do not drown. It is not worth risking your life. In Holmes Beach, Justin Hobbs, ABC 7, your local station.